let's kick off. We're going to be talking about the trust report. And so this is the third piece of research that I've been doing with ActivePipe, looking at digital marketing, looking at consumer behavior, and trying to understand what makes consumers choose agents, what makes consumers stay with agents, how do we get leads, what behavior do we need to be doing to improve our lead behavior. And so what we're going to do in this latest report, what we've done in this latest report, is do some really deep dive interviews with 124 buyers, sellers, people who are buying and selling, and people who are just property owners who are in market. And we've been asking them about their preferences around agents and their opinions around the work that we could see agents doing. So this is a really deep dive report that gets right into the heart of it. So what we wanted to do was what we're covering in this webinar is how consumers choose their real estate agent and how you can make sure that it's you. Now, we are going to be sharing this deck with you after the webinar's over, and there's some great resources in it, and we will share links to the reports and all those other things. Now, what are we going to cover today? So we are going to cover, hang on, I'm just going to pop my chat out the way. What we're going to cover today is how do people seek out real estate information today? And I think you're going to find this interesting because it's probably not what you have been told in the past. We're starting to see some real changes in how people are researching the market. What are the factors in how they choose their agent? And I think this is really going to surprise you. We're then going to look at what drives consumer loyalty in an agent. And we've got some evidence from this trust report, so definitive evidence in this trust report that shows that people want a real estate agent to have a similar real estate relationship like they have with a doctor, with their solicitor, with their dentist. Like, they don't want to see you all the time. But they want to know that you're there when they need you, and they want to know that you are, that they've got someone in their corner. And what we're going to do is have a deep dive into how to build trust faster, because the faster you can establish trust, this is one of the key findings of the report, the faster you can establish trust with a new contact, the better your chances are of converting them into a client. So how do consumers seek out real estate information? I'm just going to put my desk up a little bit. Okay, so how do consumers seek out real estate information? Well, what we found in the report, one of the key findings was that 62% of those people that we surveyed researched the market, are in the market for about 2 months before they list their property. So when they're doing a lot of work behind the scenes before they actually either approach an agent to ask them to list the property. They're thinking about that and doing a lot of research passively. Now, 59.7%, around 60%, are using online portals. And this is probably not a surprise because we know that when people are thinking about real estate, they're going to realestate.com, they're going to Domain, or they're going to a portal to find out how the market is performing, to see what's on the market and to get a feel for it. But I think what you might be surprised about, which is a bit of a spoiler alert, is that when are they doing that? 22.6% of them are attending open for inspections, and 21% talk to family and friends. So what are they doing? They're thinking about getting into the market, they're doing their own research, and then they're talking to their family and friends to get their opinions around what they see is going on. And then they're starting to attend open for inspections. A significant proportion, about 22%, 23% of the market start to attend open for inspections. And they do that whether they are selling, whether they're intending to buy, and that we're also increasingly seeing people attending open for inspections when they are intending to sell. Excuse me. Here's one of the really interesting numbers that came out of the research, though, that the role of agents in consumer research. Now, 10 years ago, people used to go to an agent first to find out about what was happening in the market, and then they would let that agent guide them through all of their decisions. Now what we're seeing is that they're going to the portals first, talking to family and friends, but then they're coming to an agent and they're asking you for your advice and insights. 37%, close to 40%, 4 in every 10, 2 in every 5 are going to come to you and ask for help about how to understand better how that market is performing. But the really important thing that we're going to see around this is that when they're doing it and what that signals to you. Now, the old school thinking around how we prospected and sold was that we did a lot of work up front to talk to people, and we had to do a lot of activity to talk to a lot of people. And as you know, as things have scaled and we've gone more into email and more into digital, we're now being, there's so many people that are trying to talk to us that we find that are really, to have meaningful conversations can be quite difficult. What we're seeing now, though, is that when people, and I think what that means for a lot of us is that we then don't have enough time to deal with the inquiries that we're getting in a meaningful way. What I really want you to take out of this research is to understand that when people are coming to you to inquire about the market, think about the funnel, and we'll have a look at this later. They are further down the funnel and they're genuinely reaching out to you because they're starting to look to have a relationship with you. They're not just asking questions generally because they've probably already done that research. They're coming to you as an agent because they want a leading edge. They want to find out something that that other buyers or other sellers around them don't know. So this is what the research process looks like, and this is sort of the timeline and the flow of it. Now, if you've got any questions at all as we're going through this, because I know I am going to be covering an awful lot of stuff, pop them into the chat or pop them into the questions. If I look off to the side, that's where I'm looking. I'm just keeping my eye on what people are asking. So the research process. Now, this isn't just for buying, because I think when we look at this process, we think, oh, yeah, that's how people buy property. No, I want you to think about that this is what people are doing when they are selling as well. They're doing online research. Then they're chatting to their family and friends. Then they might then what we see is a good proportion of them will attend an open home. They'll see a property for sale around, nearby, and they'll go and stick their heads in to see what's going on. Now, remember, they're thinking, in their head, they're thinking, I wonder what this place is going to go for. Always been curious about it. Wondered what it looks like inside. How does it compare to my place? I wonder what that means if I wanted to sell now, what that would mean. They will then have a conversation with you as an agent. They'll either try to engage you at the open home, or they will call you up and make an inquiry to you. From there, and around this time, they might do a little bit earlier, but they'll give you their email, and we're going to look in detail about what them giving you their email address means and how important that is to the whole trust equation. And then once they've been through all of this stuff, that's when they actually get to the point where they're listing and selling, or they're actually able to buy. And so what are the factors that influence the way consumers choose their agent? Now, when I talk to agents, I still get told a lot by agents that the main thing that that makes a seller choose an agent is fees. Is it fees? Well, here's what the data says. The data said that only 4.8% of the consumers that we and we took just a random sample of people who are buying, selling, who are buying, selling, own property, thinking of selling. They said that they chose an agent because of the commission. So only less than 5% of sellers out there right now are going to choose you because of the fees that you're charging. This is not really even registering as something that the majority of people are concerned about. It's certainly not the main reason that they choose you. Are they choosing you because of the reputation of your brand, because you're in the yellow team, or because you're in the blue team, or because you're in the green team, or whatever color team you're in? Well, a little bit alarming if you're running a franchise, but 11.3% of those that we surveyed said that they chose the agent because of the reputation of the brand that they had. So the two things that agents tell me all the time are the leading reasons why why sellers choose them as an agent, and the excuses that they give. They're not actually true. Like, the data is just not stacking up to really back that up. These are not leading influences on consumer choice. So why aren't clients coming back to you? And this is one of the really fascinating things that we saw in the research. Well, 39% of those sellers who had sold previously, when it came time to sell again, close to 40% decided not to go with the agent that they had used previously. So that's a big drop off. And 36.4% of those who didn't go back to their last agent said, well, it was because the service wasn't great. So if you're not delivering great service, then they're not going to use you again. That's just a no-brainer. They're going to sort of abandon you. That's a lead that you've lost forever. And 27.3% of the clients that we surveyed said that they lost contact with their agent. They didn't hear from their agent again. So that's why they never used them. So nearly a third of the people that we surveyed said that, well, they didn't do anything to maintain the relationship with us. So why would we use them again? We felt like we were starting from scratch. And when we look at this in even more detail, 10% of those that we surveyed couldn't even remember the agent that they used last time's name. Now, maybe it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, but that agent that they had previously used had been in so little contact with them that they no idea, couldn't even remember who he or she was. Now, if you've got any comments or you want to share anything, just let me know. So what factors do actually influence consumer choice? Well, and this is what the sellers were telling us. Well, 24%, when they have to choose a new agent, 24% are looking at your personality. Do they like you? Do they feel that they can work with you? You know, are they, do they get a great vibe from you? About a quarter of them are looking for that. 23% said that they're looking at your reputation. So what are people saying about you in the market? That's where that family and friends referral stuff is coming in really important. And 21% say that it's past results. So they're looking at your past results. Now, if you have that combination of personality, reputation, and past results, you are absolutely going to cream it. And that's what you've got to be aiming for. But these numbers are still kind of, 1 out of every 5 are kind of saying this sort of thing. So what else can you do? What is the most important thing that you can do to guarantee leads in your business? Well, like we saw before, 39% said they chose a different agent to the one they'd used last time. But 61% of, sorry, there's a dog-related issue going on in the background at my place. 61% said that they would prefer to use the same agent that they used last time. And 55%, when we asked them, well, why would you like to use the same agent? They said, oh, it just makes it easier. I know them. I know what they're like. I know the quality of the service I'm going to get from them. It's just easier. And buying or selling a house is a really stressful time, especially, selling a house, getting it ready for sale, getting, managing, juggling the kids and the renovations that you need to make and the prepping it and all of that stuff and all of the paperwork that has to be done. These are really stressful periods. Looking for your next home, all of these things are really stressful period. Needing to sort of deal with a new relationship in all of that is often a step too far. So here's what we see, that sellers want to use an agent that they used previously, and they want to get on with that agent. They want to have had a great experience with that agent, and they want to know that that agent is delivering the goods for them. And then once you can make that connection and deliver that level of service to them, they want to use you again forever for the rest of their life, in the same way that they want to use a solicitor or a doctor or a dentist. So the best thing you can do to basically, the best lead retention you can do is to basically, keep great relationships with your existing clients. Because here's what we see in this data, that speed dating in real estate really is officially dead. So no one wants to speed date. And the best way to win new listings is to stay in touch meaningfully with your past clients, prospect for relationships, not just for listings. So be really focused on conversations that engage and enroll people, not just sort of, hi, I just met you, can I sell your house? I haven't included Tinder Guy in this presentation. If you've been to one of my webinars before, you will remember Tinder Guy quite well. I decided to give you all the rest from him this time. But prospect for relationships, because it's the agents with the most relationships that win, because the most relationships translates into the most listings. And from the trust report data, we can see this really, really clearly. But what we also see is that taking better care of what I'm calling third-party clients, so buyers, renters, and just tire kickers, neighbours, local people, is the best way to build your future leads. But you have to capture them and you have to have ongoing conversations with them. And I know in real estate that what we want to do is, we're making our money from commissions that are made from selling property and listing property. But if we think about the funnel and we think about the top of the funnel, our circle of influence already exists with people who we've already met. So we need to stop trying to convert strangers into clients immediately, and we need to start nurturing relationships so that our contacts become our clients, because that's a much easier process. Nope, can't see any yet. Okay, so how do your actions or behaviors build trust, or how don't they? Well, let's just go back to this flow chart that we had of how people are researching whether they're sellers or buyers, and the timing that they put on it. What are they looking at? When they're looking at when they're doing their online research, it's basically the question is, well, how strong is your online presence? Can they find you as part of their online research? Do they start to get to know you, and that they start to ask about what properties in their local area are selling for? Do you start to pop up in that? Have you got your profile set up properly? Is your website really strong? What's your online presence look like? And that's coming back to your digital marketing. How good is your digital marketing presence? Family and friends, what do people I know say about you? So when I'm starting to ask around, what are my friends and family telling me? Are they telling me that that you're a great agent, or that they know someone who can really help me out, who was a great guy or a great girl and who did a great job for them? Or are they renting through your agency and are telling me to avoid your agency like the plague because they've had a bad experience getting the roof fixed? So that's where your reputation in market is really coming to play. How do they treat you? How are you going to treat me at an open? Like, are you going to personally welcome me? Are you taking my details? Are you giving me some additional information? Are you following up with me? Or are you just like, writing, sticking a clipboard in my face, telling me just to fill in my details, and then I never hear from you again? Like, people are really auditioning you at that open home inspection. So this is where we see your professionalism and the processes that you've got sitting behind that in your agency really coming into play. How are you going to handle my specific questions and inquiries? So if I've filled in my name and email address and phone number on the clipboard, and now I've got some questions for you, what's the engagement that we're having? Like, are you going to return my call? Are you able to, there may be a lot of people at the open for inspection if you're not doing one-to-one inspections because we're all in lockdown. But are you going to make time for me? Are you going to take me seriously? All of these things. Again, that's another professionalism and process. Have you got time for me? Is another big part of that professionalism and process. And then we start to get into email. So what kind of emails are you going to send me? Are you going to send me emails that genuinely solve some of the problems that I've got and answer the questions and give me a competitive edge, or help me really understand what I'm going into as a buyer or a seller? Or are you just sending me sort of the general stuff that you send to everyone? That comes down to how strong your marketing and processes are. And how are you going to look after me when it comes to actually buying or selling through you? Are you going to really take care of me? Or does our relationship become combative? So again, that comes down to your empathy, so how you treat people on a human to human level, but also the processes that you've got sitting behind you inside your agency, so that you've got the time and emotional energy to put to be empathetic, because we all know that if you're just running on energy all the time, that can be really exhausting. Now, James Thompson has asked, if 36.4% of people don't use the same agent again because of poor service, how do those people define great service? Well, James, that's actually what we're pulling apart now. What does great service look like? And what we know is that great service looks like behavior that is trustworthy. So let's pull a little bit up, because what we saw from the survey, from the trust report, is that regardless of whether they chose to use their agent again or whether they didn't choose to use their agent again, they all felt that the same things were important. So, and that was around, can I trust this person in one of the biggest transactions of my life? So how do we build trust? Here are the steps, and we're going to dive into some of the things that you need to be doing as part of this in a bit more detail. So you need to know, who are you talking to? You need to stay in touch, because we saw, more than 60% of people are looking to do business with you again. You need to be genuinely helpful and provide information that's really valuable to them. So not just every single listing on your book, every single time you email people, actually thinking about, well, if Joe just inquired about 2-bedroom apartments, maybe I should just send him the apartment information. Or if they're looking at a price bracket, let's send stuff around that price bracket, not all the things that are everything that's on our books. And being your word, doing what you said you would do. This is a really key thing. You can have an amazing, branding and marketing out there. You can have fabulous signboards and presentations, and you can be really lovely to deal with when people first meet you. But if you don't then do what you said you were going to do, that really erodes trust. And so that then really undermines that ongoing relationship. And so that can be extraordinarily damaging if you don't do what you said you were going to do. So let's start to dig in and pull this apart. So step one, you really do need to know who you're talking to. So segmenting allows you to be more personalized and to deliver better service. And when we talk about segmenting, we're basically saying, understand who are you, who are you talking to? Is it someone who's looking to buy? Is it someone who's looking to sell? Is it a renter? Is it an owner? And what I'm asking you to do at this early stage is to not sort of go, oh, well, they're a renter, or, oh, well, they're a buyer. I don't care about them yet. I only care about the sellers. No, I want you to care about them all in these initial conversations, because these initial conversations are around building the relationship, not about building the listing. Because first we're going to build the relationship, then we're going to nurture to get the listing. So what's their property status, and what are the pain points that they're experiencing because they're in that property space? So if they're a buyer, are they a first-time buyer, or are they investing, or are they upsizing? If they're a seller, are they selling an investment property? Are they selling because they're wanting to upsize and buy something bigger next? Are they selling because they want to downsize and buy something smaller next? If they're renting, are they looking to rent forever, or are they actually looking to become a rent investor and invest somewhere later down the track, or are they looking to be a first home buyer at some point in time? And if they're an owner or just a local resident, at some point in time, they're very probably going to think about selling their home, especially if properties around them are selling for ridiculous prices, like a lot of them are now. So just knowing who they are and what their pain points are, or what's motivating them, is enormously powerful and a great way to build trust. And who are they to you? Have you dealt with them before? If they are, then you've already got a relationship started. So, you've got the basis upon which to build trust. Are they a VIP in your local area? Are they someone who's really well known, or are they a neighbor, or are they just someone who's a new contact because they've come in the door? It's great if you're able to segment them and tag them in your database so that you can start to get a feel for where people are coming from. And we'll talk about why in a minute. And what's their current status, and how quickly do they need to act? Are they really hot to trot? Are they thinking about doing something in the next 3 months once lockdown's over? Are they thinking about something in the next 6 months? There are 3 ways that you can tag people, or you can just have something a little bit sort of fuzzier, which is around they're hot, they're medium, or they're hot, they're warm, or they're cold. And what I really recommend that you do is put a bit of structure around your tags and how you kind of identify people, either in your database right now, or the people who are coming in and being added to your database or your contact lists on a daily basis. You should have some tagging rules or some identification rules, and you should have them written down, not sitting in your database as a tag, because you can add tags really quickly and it becomes quite crazy. You really just want to have some rules written down in a document that you share with your team and agree to as your team. Otherwise, you do find that it gets pretty messy pretty quickly. And so how do you know how to tag someone? So I have a lot of phone conversations with real estate agents that still basically, even though they know me, even though they've rung me every single year for like the last 5 years or more, ring me up and say, hi, Kylie, it's Joe Bloggs from Joe Bloggs Real Estate. How you going? like, I'm good, thanks, Joe. How are you? Annual call. Great to hear from you. Yeah. Mark is really busy at the moment. Are you thinking of selling? It's like, no, thanks, Joe. Bye. Whereas Joe has been selling properties around me. And if he wanted to talk to me about what he was getting for those results, or we would have a much different conversation. But so instead of getting really focused on that, converting people immediately into a Joe behaves like Tinder guy. So instead of behaving like Tinder guy, make the conversations around, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? That make that the key question that you're asking on calls. You can also start to clean up and tag your data through putting people through or requesting a data discovery survey. Now, not all of them will do it, but a good proportion of your database are likely to do it, especially if they're active in market at the moment. It'll help them identify, it'll help you understand whether they're looking for houses, whether they're looking for units, the price range that they're looking for. And it'll help you understand what kind of conversations you need to have with them and the kind of email content that you can send out to them that will make them, that will help develop trust and establish trust with them. So know who you're talking to. That was the first step, really important. Oh, sorry. Stay in touch. So then the next most important thing we need to do is stay in touch with people. So we really want to create appropriate communication strategies, which are based on those customer types. So we're not sending out seller emails to a whole bunch of people who are in the market to buy. We're not sending out buyer emails to a whole bunch of people who are considering selling. We're limiting the first home buyer content to people who are first home buyers. We're really kind of drilling down on who people are and the problems that they're trying to solve and why they're getting into the market. And we're creating strategies around their particular needs. And why do I think you should do this on email? Well, from the trust report, the data that we saw shows that the overwhelming majority of respondents did not want a phone call from an agent when they were in that early search stage. They are happy, passive, they are happy in their own space, researching the market in their own time without you asking, if you can list their house. They're scared that that's what you're going to do. And while they don't know you, they don't really trust you until the relationship's been built. And they want a bit of knowledge behind them before they start to engage with you. So email gives people a sense of control, or your customers a sense of control over the relationship that they have with you. Well, I give you my email address, but I can unsubscribe at any time. And it really allows them anonymity. It lets them passively browse. But from an agent's point of view, it lets you provide a lot more people with a lot more consistent information at scale. So the biggest pain point around this is moving from that status where you're trying to call everyone and do your 30 calls a day or 15 calls a day or whatever number you've got there because you're trying to call everybody, and to move a little bit of time away from that towards getting the structure and set up properly in your email, so that then you can, instead of doing 30 calls a day, you can do 15 calls a day or 10 calls a day with 10 people who are really interested in hearing from you and who want to have a meaningful conversation with you, rather than 30 people, 20 at least of whom, or 25 who don't want to talk to you at all. So what we see is that email is really great at sort of helping, in these early stages of the funnel, keep that relationship happening really consistently, so that your phone calls can be more down the bottom of the funnel down here, in the one-to-one stuff, which is really reinforcing the value of that relationship. Does that make sense? So Courtney's asked where the research was done. So it was done by Active Pipe, and we interviewed 124 sellers, buyers, and property owners, and did a really deep dive on their engagement with real estate agents, and asked them to look at content that we saw out in the marketplace, and we got their opinions on it. So I'll share the link to the report at the end of this. So this is where your phone conversations are happening, but in this one to some and one to many, this is where email marketing is definitely happening, and email marketing's, social media marketing's happening up the top here, with a bit of email, getting them into your email marketing as quickly as possible. Now, why do customers give you their email address? Because they want to access your knowledge of the market. So when I turn up to the open for inspection and I write my name down on the clipboard, or when I call into the office, when I either ring you up in the office or I send you an email inquiry, I'm giving you my email because I want you to share your knowledge about what's happening in the market with me. Now, I want you to do that on my terms because it's email, but I am really interested to hear what you've got to say. I also really, if I'm a buyer, I don't want to miss out on any suitable properties, especially at the moment across New Zealand and across Australia. The market is so hot and it's so hard for buyers. They want a competitive edge on other buyers out there. They want to see what's on the market ideally first. Really important is that they want a more personalized exchange than they will get on the email, on the portals. So you can type your email into, realestate.com or domain, you can sign up, it will start to customize stuff automatically for you. But there's no real person on the end of the line for me if I've got further inquiries around that. So I'm giving you my email as an agent because I want to be able to use you as a resource and to draw upon you. I'm looking for exclusive information, so especially around off-market properties, if you've got an off-market property strategy. And if I give you my email, I want to be able to expect better service from you. This is one of the key findings that we saw. So I want to, you now know who, we've sort of been introduced and know each other a little bit. Depending on how many conversations we've had, I really want to get better service out of you. So this is what translates into a permission promise. So when buyers and sellers opt in to receive email updates from agents, when they give you their email address, it's because that they see that as a low risk way to assess how good you are and how you're going to treat them and the services that you can offer them. So what you really want to do when someone gives you their email address is to make sure that the experience that they have with you is infinitely better than the experience that they would have with any other agent in your market. So here are some common email types that you should definitely be setting up based on your tags. So looking at who those people were, they're going to be buyers, they're going to be sellers, they're going to be renters, they're going to be first home buyers, they're going to be sellers. Who are they, and how can we create emails that will start to build trust with them? Well, buyer service. So it'll take you maybe a morning to set up, at the very worst, a morning to set up a whole pile of buyer service emails that will then allow any buyer that comes through your door to have an amazing experience with you as an agency. And every time a buyer buys a property, then they're going to be the next person that sells. So they're actually a fantastic source of leads to your business. So the fact that when they're buying from you, you're not making a commission from them. No, you're not, but they are the people turning up with the cash that they give to the seller who then pays you. So they're really important in this equation, and we really want to love them up a lot more. So buyer service emails, give them market updates, tell them what's happening in the market, tell them how they can buy smarter at the moment. Give them the latest listings, and especially listings that are targeted to what they're specifically looking for. Give them, if you've got an off-market club, or creating an off-market club where they can sign up and get access to listings that you haven't made available yet, or giving them first dibs on listings, is really, really powerful. And you can send that up. You can set those buyer emails to go out every week. You can set them up to go whenever a new listing hits the market. There's lots of different ways. So those guys are really hungry for information, and when you deliver it to them, they're pretty amazed, and it's a great way to start to build trust. Market updates. So anyone in your database is going to be interested in a market update. So usually you would send these out monthly. You'd cover off a little bit on how the market's performing. You'd cover off your evidence for that. You'd cover off some recent sales that reflect, what you've just said in how the market's performing. And that can be a really powerful way to stay connected with your neighbours, with your VIPs, with your farming area as a whole, and even investors. Seller nurturing. So definitely you want to keep these guys in the loop based on whether they're hot, warm, or cold, or cool, sorry. But you want to be giving them market updates. You want to be sharing those updates with them so that they know how the market's performing. You want to be discouraging them from trying to time the market. You want to be telling them about how they should be, making the decision when it's right for them, not worrying necessarily about the market. There are really common questions in real estate that you guys get asked every single day. So answering those in those emails is a really powerful way to share your knowledge. Again, top recent sales, and what we saw in the trust reports, please, please, please include the price that you sold them for. Otherwise, it is pointless, because real estate agent sold a house is not news and it's not interesting. We actually all want to know what you sold it for so that we can make that comparison with our own house. And monthly or quarterly seller nurturing campaigns, they can be, depending on whether they're hot, warm, or cold, you would be reaching out to them as frequently as made sense. And I'm just going to have a quick sip because my voice is starting to go. And then property management. So please don't forget your renters. Like, talk to them about what's happening in terms of vacancies, in terms of rental rents, and how they're performing generally, so that when you have to send them a rent update, they don't feel, victimized. If you're sending them just a quarterly update on what the property market's doing in your area, and how that's affecting rents, especially when rents are going up, you can help, offset some of that noise. And what we see in real estate is that, where real estate agents get really bad reviews, it's usually coming from tenancy management. So sort of thinking outside the box to how can we start to engage our tenants in different conversations so that when it does come time for them to buy, or for them to sell, or, or for them to start to move into property ownership, we are their agent of choice. They can become extraordinarily loyal. And make your emails unique. So at ActivePipe, we have some great templates. We do see them used a little more than we'd like. And so really want you to sort of dive into them and make them sound like you, make them sound like your agency and the way that you speak to your customers and with the information that you really want to impart. We don't want you to sound like every other agent in your suburb. And create your own customer journeys. Now, you can reach out to your customer support and account managers, and they can help you build these out. And we really want you to look at how content can build engagement, because sort of what we saw in the trust report was information, so if you know that someone's a first home buyer, sharing information, tips and tricks around for, how to buy your first home successfully, delivered at the right time, can be extremely powerful. So step 3, being genuinely helpful. So we know who we're talking to now. We've got a process for how we're going to start to handle them. What are we going to do? What are we actually going to do? Well, we're going to start to be really useful to them. And here's what we saw from the trust report that buyers really want to know. 63% of the buyers that we talked to as part of the survey wanted to hear about a new property to market ASAP. So these guys are hungry. This is why they signed up to, to get information from your list. They don't want an alert from realestate.com or Domain or Trade Me. They want to hear about it from you, and they want to get in early. 70% wanted the properties filtered to their choices. So the remaining 30%, some of them said, a small proportion said that they wanted everything. A slightly larger proportion said they wanted to be able to filter them themselves. But the majority, if they're in the market for 4-bedroom homes, do not want to see 2-bedroom units, and vice versa. When they sign up to be part of your email campaign, or when they sign up to connect up with you, they are asking you to help them save time in their property search, not give them more information that they have to wade through. And so what we see in these next 3 is that they want to know at a glance, when they look at their email really quickly, when's the auction, when are the inspection times. Don't make me sort of go through a whole pile of stuff to find out the information that I'm looking for. They really want price guide information. Now, I know in some states this can be a little bit hard to do, especially around auctions, but you can definitely show people what similar properties have sold for, so that people can get a feel for what is a realistic asking price. and the price that they just sold, then they definitely, if you're sending out just sold emails, please, like I talked about before, don't say, real estate agent sold house. No one cares. That's your job. They really want to know what that property sold for, so they can, in their own heads, get a benchmark of the market. Anyway, questions? We haven't got very many questions on this. I'll keep bowling through. So what do our sellers want to know? They want to know, how much did the house up the road sell for? How's our local market performing? These questions you guys get asked every single day. Is now really a good time to sell, or should I wait? Like, we're in the middle of lockdown. Is it safe? It's a great time to start getting ready to sell, definitely. How long does it take to sell in the current market? Is it fast? Is it slow? How does that compare to previously? What does that mean I should be doing right now? Or what should my expectations be? If I sell now, this is a doozy. If I sell now, will I be able to find something to buy? Because what we see in the research is that anxiety around selling in the market while the market's really performing strongly, but then not being able to move to something better, is one of the key reasons why people are holding off from selling. And this is why those open for inspections are so important, because what you're seeing at open for inspections are people coming through to see, is this the house that could make me put my property on the market? And if you think of every person coming through the door as every buyer that comes through the door as that kind of buyer, they start to change a little bit and become a lot more valuable to you. How much are houses like mine selling for, and how much work is involved in getting ready to sell? So this is all the common questions that every seller has got. So answer their questions. So in their emails, when you're starting to, you can send out emails that are specially targeted to, first home buyers club. Create a first home buyers club and encourage your clients to sign up to that. Downsizers club. If you're been in a property for 30 years and you're thinking of moving to something smaller, there's a whole pile of decisions that you have to make around that can be really terrifying. And downsizing, is at that time of life when you want life to be less complicated, but actually, getting ready to move from one thing to another can be really overwhelming. They're looking for help. So questions, local suburb market updates, send out updates on how the market's performing. We've got a great product at Active Pipe called Market Insights that can help with that. Advice and evergreen articles based on those questions. So again, the real estate content has some great, has easy to use, like click, type in investors, drag content that you like straight into your email, into your emails, makes it really super easy. Market reports with market insights and lots of video and data snapshots. So provide information that that will help them answer their questions. Remember, they've got the email, it's their decision, they're going to open it, they're going to read it at their leisure. Everything that they read that they think, oh, that's actually really useful, is a tick in the box of why they trust you, why they should trust you, and how helpful you're being to them, so that when the time comes for them to list, you are their agent of choice. Step 4. Now, really delivering on your promises. So being your word, do what you say you'll do by the time you say you'll do it. And what we saw, this is really short, but over 65% of the people that we surveyed and spoke to, they expected a follow-up from an open for inspection within a few days. Now, remember we talked before about buyers, a lot of buyers coming into open for inspections are actually thinking of selling, but they're scared that they won't find the property that they want to live in next. So if you don't get back to everyone on your list after an open for inspection, not following up is a serious eroder of trust. And anyone who was considering maybe selling through you while they bought this property is, if that doesn't happen, they completely cross you off the list immediately. So here's how your action, here's a little bit of a review on this, because this is what we saw. This is your awareness stage. If you go back to thinking about how am I marketing myself and what's my, what's my digital marketing funnel look like? Well, the online research and the reputation is where we're building awareness for who you are and what you do. At this stage, the open home, the contact, and the how you treat their email address, this is where they're auditioning you. This is where buyers and sellers are thinking, is this the agent that I want to deal with? How do they treat me? How do they treat me compared to other agents? Do I trust them Do they have a good, do I like their personality? Do I feel I can work with them? Do I feel like they've got my back? This is the audition process. And this last part, the empathy and process, where you're buying and selling, where you've listed them and you're now working for them. This is where we're seeing your actions really step up. So this is what the cycle looks like. You've got your marketing and how you're positioning yourself. That's flowing into your professionalism and how you're conducting yourself. So what you're doing out in the market. Then we've got the processes that are sitting behind your business. So how are you scaling your conduct so that you can deliver really consistently? And then that's being backed up by your empathy. So how you're connecting with people and building a rapport. And then that turns into your reputation. So this is how other people are seeing you in the market. And this is what Tom Panos calls you, how people talk about you when you're not in the room. And if you get all of these things right, then you start to see that you are really becoming an attraction agent. What we see a little bit too much is too much energy putting into just the human behavior, but you burn out if you do that. So you really need to get your processes right and your professionalism and get the other things sitting right behind you so that you're not out there alone, just, doing it all yourself. We're nearly there. If anyone's got any questions, now's the time to ask them before we start to wrap up. But we'd love to help you at ActivePipe. You do have a success manager if you want some insights into how to set up tagging in your, how to do tagging, how to do customer journeys. If you'd like to get a copy of the trust report in this deck, we've also included a link to it, and our support team is on call, and we'd be more than happy to do an account review so that we can help you get the most out of your email, the email part of your strategy, and see what you can be doing to really be building trust with your past clients, with your contacts as they're coming in, and start to get all of that process set up and automated so that everything's pulling in the direction of driving trust for you. So thank you so much, everybody.